right, I'd love to start with a bigger audience this evening, but good evening, Michigan City, Indiana. And thank you for joining us at a special or extra special meeting of the Michigan City Redevelopment Commission. Tonight we basically have a one-item agenda, albeit an important one, and I'll run down it's a little extra 8 items as we go through to get to yours, but you're number 4. So anyway, I'll call the meeting to order. I'll let the record show that all the commissioner members are present, with the exception of Pat Kowalski. I know he's caught in the monsoon without his wipers working. I said, just be safe. We'll make it. Even if we had to cancel the meeting, it's fine. So don't do anything rash. And then also note that Teresa Edwards is here, is our representative from the school board. So yeah. And so anyway. Oh. Chuck Overly's absent too. Excuse me. 2 absentee. We have a quorum. We have a quorum. Thank you. Yes, Mayor Overly. So I'm sorry about that. And so he said it was his birthday.
I believe it's his birthday.
Oh, that's great. Okay.
So happy
Wonderful.
Birthday.
Good for him. Happy birthday. So that's the roll call. So the first item on the agenda is a request for incentives for Fluid Coffee located at 518 Franklin Street. I know we have representatives here from Fluid, and we also have a representative here that actually owns the 518 Franklin Street building. So perhaps maybe all 3 of you want to come forward, perhaps? Or what's your preference?
Yeah, maybe just describe the project to us and
Well, thank you. So, and I know Clarence Hulse from the EDC was planning on being here. He may come a little bit later. And I do believe, as I recall, and Allison, Chuck, maybe you can correct me here, but I believe that you guys did you go to Clarence first and then he brought to us, or how did it work out? That's right. So I want to give Clarence credit for his good work at the EDC and bringing forward leads like this, which going to promise something new and exciting for the city. So if you would introduce yourselves, address, and give us an overview, please.
I'm Allison Skates, and we own Fluid Coffee Bar in downtown Valpo. That's at 159 Lincoln Way. This is my husband,
Charles Chuck.
Okay. And I see you also have the proprietor of the building with you, Dr. Heather Nash.
Heather Nash. I'm investor in property in Michigan City, and I bought what is commonly known as the Eagle Building, 518 and 522, from Bob Lake earlier this year. I'm looking to maximize what it does for the city, primarily.
You might have to come over to the microphone.
maybe just closer to Mike. They'll step out and wave at us.
Oh, it's okay. I'll just pretend like I'm speaking to my ex-husband. So I bought the building in January, and it's been very important. It's been very important to me to make sure that the people that go in that space, you may have known it as jazzercise or an upholstery space, but it's important because that's such a significant stretch of Franklin Street that it needs to be something that brings foot traffic to the area and not just another business that's a destination. I've had interest from other things that would be really not, it's perfectly suitable for the space, but not for driving business, traffic, or interest or enthusiasm from Michigan City. And as somebody who's invested over $1 million cash in Michigan City in initially residential properties and bringing them up to a better standard, this has been my next sort of phase, and it's important for me to bring a business that is going to bring a new dimension to Franklin Street, to be a destination where people will come in the morning and the early evening hours, and I think that that would be terrific. So I was very enthusiastic about the opportunity to work with Fluid.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much. So, when you were away from the microphone, for those in the audience on our TV group, this is Dr. Heather Nath. She recently purchased the Eagles building, 518, 522 Franklin Street. So, thank you very much. So if you would just briefly explain the project to us, what the project consists of, and the improvements you're planning on making, that sort of thing.
Sure. So this would be, as Allison mentioned, this our first location is in Valpo, and that's more of a traditional coffee bar, cafe, some light cafe fare. This endeavor is to expand that into a coffee roastery, but not just a coffee roastery. We'll do production cold brew as well. Cold brew coffee is extremely popular, and so we plan on expanding on that. Currently, we roast a small portion of our coffee that provides all the coffee to our cafe. Otherwise, we use roasters out of Chicago like Dark Matter, Intelligentsia, things of that nature. But once we move into the new space, we have a large roaster it's a vintage Probat roaster. So we like to throw that out there because that's like the Cadillac of roasters. It's a beautiful roaster. It's vintage. We're purchasing it from a roaster friends of ours out of Indianapolis. So that's it in a nutshell. I'm sure Allison would like to add a little bit to that.
I'd like to add to that we plan to bring community to our cafe too, and that's a lot of what we do in Valpo. We have open mic nights, we have art openings, we change the art to local art once a month. Chuck has a gallery and art background, so we're really involved with that, and we try to bring everybody into the cafe and have a lot of diversity in Valpo. We've worked with Valpo Next, the mayor across the street, and the chamber to try to get events that worked for the little city of Valpo. And when we started looking to expand, Valpo kind of wanted us to stick there, but we've had our eye on Michigan City for a while. We grew up in Maryville, the two of us. We've been married 28 years, and we love the feeling out here of Michigan City. We love the beach and just the area of how there's a little bit more diversity, a little bit more grit, and a little bit more going on out here, frankly. So we love Valpo. It's not to say that we don't, but we want to take that feeling out here of Michigan City and bring it into events. So we want a little bit more street art. We want a little bit more diversity in our open mic night, poetry, things like that. We also do fashion pop-ups and vegan pop-ups and all kinds of things like that. So we want to bring that. And the type of business that we're going to be is a destination. Coffee roasters are kind of like a craft brewery because it's the craft beverage industry. So it's like a winery or a brewery, only a daytime kind of event. We'll open at 7 in the morning. And when people are traveling to go through here and stop at Zorn and Burnham and Shoreline and going up to Greenbush, we would probably be a good fit for that clientele to stop and see us as well.
Nice. So you mean you can drink coffee in the evening too? So that's kind of interesting.
We'll be open until 7 at night on the weekdays. So
Wonderful. So
later on the
I'm going to
weekends.
run down just some of the statistics for the audience here that you provided to us. So I understand it'll be up to 10 new jobs, and a number of those might be kind of a higher tech job. A $350,000 annual payroll. Your investment in equipment is going to be approximately $183,000. The request from us is, which should generate some property taxes. That'll be worked out between you and Heather, however that works. But the request of the RDC is for $35,000. You have, it's a unique hit project. You've got 10,000 social media followers, and anticipate that you might bring as many as 15,000 new clients to Michigan City on an annual basis. If you use the Visitors Bureau, $75 a person, that's over $1 million, well over $1 million in new revenues to the city. You, as a distinguished roaster distributor, not just a brewer, you anticipate 2,000 kegs of cold brew of coffee produced annually, and to roast over 30,000 pounds of coffee. And the target is to be in service as soon as possible, hopefully no later than fall of 2019. Is that about right?
Yes. Sooner the better.
Wonderful.
We're ready to
We're
go.
ready to go.
And if you could maybe describe how your place is differentiated from a routine coffee shop.
Sure. So if you follow coffee at all, there's waves of coffee. So you have first wave coffee being the stuff that our grandparents drank out of a can. Then you have second wave coffee, which was the introduction of espresso-based drinks to the United States by people like Starbucks or, big guys now that were small 25 years ago. And then you have what's commonly coined third wave coffee, which is, we're kind of transitioning right now into something even beyond that. But third wave coffee is where you know where your coffee comes from, the farm that it comes from. Even there's an aspect to it to where there's a direct trade where it might be to the point to where we get to the point of being able to go to these farms, shake hands with those farmers, and purchase the coffee directly instead of having it muddled up through an importer exporter type of thing. Then there's also the quality of the coffee, just like wine. You've got your Boone's Farm, and you've got your Dom Perignons and things like that. So
I thought you were going to say Shady Creek.
Yeah, I should. Wait, Shady Creek. Yeah, but it's just a difference in quality. There's your standard cafe, corner cafe, your gas stations that have these are lower quality coffees. They just are, and there's a market for it. But there's also a market for what we do, which is commonly coined specialty coffee. So, which is different than, say, like gourmet coffee. You hear the term gourmet coffee. That's a little subset along the way that is where they've taken, maybe a little bit better coffee and then added some artificial flavoring and things like that to it. That's nothing of like what we do. We do fine, direct trade, single origin coffees that are from Ethiopia or Guatemala or Kenya or something like that. And we let the coffee speak for itself, and it's a technique in roasting to get this modern, taste and feel.
So literally an international flavor to it, right? Beans from all over the world coming to Michigan City to be roasted, right?
Oh yeah. And some of that stuff, like some of our suppliers, there's a few that are direct trade that literally go to Nicaragua specifically or Guatemala specifically and buy that coffee and bring it back to us. So there's only one other person between us and that farmer. And once we get to a certain level, people like us, where you see in the city, like in Chicago, there's 38 different roasters in Chicago right now doing something along these lines. But Intelligentsia or Stumptown out of Portland, these guys are the ones that set the standards, the high standards of bringing this direct trade coffee to people.
Go ahead, please.
I just want to say, having said all of that, when you really get into coffee, it gets kind of exciting, but we also have a regular drip coffee for $2.50. So to just put that out there, that we are for everyone, and we really do have a large scope of people that come into Fluid. And that $2.50 drip coffee, you get a refill with it. People sit around, enjoy that, and then you can go all the way up to a high-end single origin Ethiopian or a drink adding CBD and local maple syrup that gets up to $7.50 if that's what you want to do. So I just wanted to add that.
The $2.50, is that the first generation can coffee?
That's the good stuff too.
It's still good.
It's a blend.
So just, in a minute I'm going to ask Craig to describe what we might do. So are you aware of any other roasters in Northwest Indiana?
There are a few. There's a couple in Crown Point. There was one roasting in Dyer. There's another one roasting on a smaller scale in Valpo that does monthly subscriptions. They have a small tasting room. There is Maple City Roasters here in Michigan City that's been here for a while. He is the specialty, not the specialty coffee kind of roaster. He's more of the gourmet roaster. And I think the last time we talked to him, he comes out to the Valpo Farmers Market. He's looking to move forward with like the K-Cup industry, which is totally different than what we're trying to move forward doing. But he's here in Michigan City. So there's a few, but nothing on the scale that we want to do. And mainly who we're modeling ourselves after are people in Chicago, and the bigger cities beyond that. But that's the scope that we want to roast on and the way that we want to do it.
So Craig, you might go over what we might be able to do here, or
Sure.
Or Al, I'm not sure how.
So from the standpoint of the request, I think the easiest thing for the Redevelopment Commission to consider getting involved in would be the actual build out of the space necessary for the production. there's a cost associated with that. So some of the trade, the work associated with the various trades that will prepare the actual space where the production would occur. And then we also can potentially get involved in things like exterior improvements, the signage, for the exterior of the building, that sort of thing. We basically came up, I think, with the idea of 35,000 being in the form of that, in the form of improvements, that we would have a three-way agreement, essentially, I think, between the Skates, Heather Nath, and the Redevelopment Commission ultimately, because it involves the property owner at some point. But that's, I think, how we would approach this. So essentially, what would be the request would be for us to pay for up to $35,000 of improvements that would be in the form of construction necessary to provide the production space for the business that's being proposed.
These would be things in the building.
This would be infrastructure.
For long-term
This would be
Michigan City.
carpenters, plumbing, electrical, those kinds of contractors that would be doing the work necessary to provide the space for production. And then also, if we choose to include the sign in that would be fine as well. So that's essentially what's being requested. I just want to add that I think that the idea of bringing this type of a tenant into the space that Heather has recently purchased, the building that Heather Nath has recently purchased, is a great anchor for the Uptown Arts District. I think that some of the things that you're talking about in terms of the connection to the arts as well, specifically, is a great fit for the Uptown Arts District in particular. But this is not just any other, any other business that could go into a space in the Uptown Arts District. It's a specialty business that I think is a good fit for our community, and you bring something that's unique, that doesn't already exist in our community. And I think that happy to have given the opportunity for Heather to have a conversation with you to get to this point that we're at today. So,
I'd also like to say that as far as my part and in my investing overall in Michigan City, I've asked for $0 or zero favors from Michigan City. Everybody's been extraordinarily nice. The building part, just everybody's been wonderful, even with the house that burned, for those of you that know that. I know. It doesn't have a new name yet, it's just the house that burned.
darn insurance process.
Yeah, I know, it's terrible. But I'm giving a 3-month rent abatement to them. I'm giving them overall a reduced rate lease for the first year, and then years 2 and 3 are at a still significantly reduced rate from, if I compare what the space is on the south side of the building that's being paid for, as well as I will pay for approximately $4,000 worth of demolition, etc. So it's about a $10,000 whatever investment in this process on my part too. So I'm putting away or setting aside immediate profits to see this sort of business because it's better in the long term for Michigan City and for that building because it's super cool and
and given
I would like
their
to see
track
that.
record and their reputation in the region. So.
Oh no, of course, as soon as we started negotiations, I started asking a lot of I see 30 patients a day, work with lots of people that live in Valparaiso, and the reaction to your to Fluid has been amazingly positive from a wide demographic of people. So that's been also very encouraging. So I would love to see this go forward.
So other questions from the commissioners?
Are you gonna have for any type of food or anything there, or is it just?
Yeah, we do. We do cafe fare. We do breakfast sandwiches, oatmeal bowls, smoothie bowls, and we continue that through lunch. We try to cater to vegan diet, paleo diet, keto diet, and then just regular bagel sandwiches, so that we kind of cross over to everybody.
I think it's going to be a very good thing. It's something that I don't want to say what I'm born and raised here, and I've seen the highs and lows of that area, from going opening to closing to walking to water fountains to everything. And where we're going now is in the right direction, I think, and this is something that's sorely needed, because I think it's become kind of like quiet there for the moment, but something like this will bring it that much more life back to it. So good luck, and it's going to be very good, I think, for Michigan City, I think.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other
And
questions? I'm sorry.
You had also stated that your hours are gonna be 7 a.m. to
Right.
7 p.m.?
That's
Is
right.
that 7 days a week or just on the weekend?
That's just on the weekdays. And then on the weekends, we're usually open 7 to 8
Okay.
or 9 on Fridays and Saturdays, especially if we have an art opening, an open mic. We have a comedy night, things like that, and everything is free to the public. But we usually stay open until about 9 on Fridays or Saturdays. And then on Sundays, we close usually at in between 6 or 8. And we change the hours quarterly, depending on what we see in the numbers to try to keep that payroll tight, but give the people what they want at the same time.
Okay, thank you.
I
Good luck to
understand-
you also.
Thank you very much.
I understand the higher local too is your preference.
Oh yeah, we try to work with not only hiring local people for the cafe and to roast, but we also employ 3 different women to bake for us that use commercial kitchens nearby. We have superfood balls, which are made here in Northwest Indiana as a dessert that we work with. We work with Valpo Velvet to carry their gluten-free bread for our sandwiches. We shake hands with the people that sell us the CBD. They are not a pyramid type business. There are 2 people that started the business here in Northwest Indiana. Well, that's how CBD is going, right? So we try to put those dollars right back into Northwest Indiana with anything that we do. We're using these metal straws in the cafe right now that have gone completely viral. I don't know if anybody saw the Sea Turtle video. We use all metal straws, and they are a company right here in Northwest Indiana that we go through that have like 11,000 followers on Instagram right now, just blew up. So we try to shake hands with everybody we do business with right here. We're doing a collab with a lavender farm in LaPorte right now for our spring drink menu, and the guy literally brought us the lavender that he hand-picked. So that's the way we try to do everything.
Nice. Sounds very organic to me. Any other questions?
Yes, Mr. President. First of all, thank you, Doctor, for your investment in Michigan City. Appreciate that. And then want to thank you for the unique job creation in Michigan City, because these are going to be some specialty jobs in our downtown. And I agree with Ms. Edwards in regards to the hours. I think on the weekends, many times I hear about some of our millennials want something that's open where they can relax, and so it sounds like you're going to have some events where they could run later, and that they have somewhere to talk and conversate, and the uniqueness of that in our downtown is it's been revitalized, but it could use a little extra burst right now, and I think and then you're accommodating their investment as far as giving them some incentives that will pay off in the long run. So very good. Thank you all.
Thank you.
So I see Mr. Hulse is in the audience. We've covered almost everything. Did you want to add anything at all? So.
I would say one of the things we see about this project is because this is I call a marquee tenant. This type of business will bring a lot of people to Michigan City, and so it's not only for their customers, but also customers for the whole downtown, but all of the north and I guess all of Michigan City. So they have a great following. I think they'll bring those people to Michigan City to attract them to our restaurants across the whole city, and who knows, bring some possible future people who want to live here and work here. So I see them as a key tenant to bring to our community. So, and a key business.
Thank you for your shepherding on the project too, Clarence. So, what's the pleasure of the commission?
Mr. President, I would make a motion that we would put forth up to $35,000 in a 3-way agreement for this production space for this facility.
Is there a second? Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Well, congratulations.
Look forward to working with you
Michigan
guys.
City, and Mr. Cyrnik will be working with you on our agreement, and hopefully we'll get that completed.
Were you there today? No. Okay. I thought you looked familiar.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I should have had Mr. Cyrnik comment at the front end of the meeting, but a report by legal counsel?
There was a executive session before this meeting. No issues were discussed contrary to the open door law, and no decisions were made.
All right. Report by director.
I have nothing else to add this evening.
And any public comments? You don't see anyone else from the public that hasn't testified. And commissioner comments. Any comments from commissioners? All right. Motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
All right. We're adjourned, and our next meeting is May
13th.
13th. So look forward to providing some more community project.
Thank you, Mr.
For that.
Thank you.